because this is like my sixth introduction. Anyways, welcome to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. So today's topic, let's just dive right in. It's about faith. The Lord gave this to me, just this topic, and I feel like a lot of people, especially in this time that we're in, are just, dealing with this topic. Because there's so much we're believing God for, and I feel like 2020 has kind of slowed some people down or put some stumbling blocks in some people's path, but nevertheless, we're to still have faith. So let's go right into this. If you want to take notes, that's fine. I'm just going to go over, faith, what it is, what it's not, and the biblical definition for faith. So Hebrews 11:1. If you've been in the church long enough, and even if you have not been in the church, you should know this saying. Hebrews 11:1, the TLV, Tree of Life version says, Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of realities not seen. I like this translation. The evidence of realities not seen. So this is the Bible definition of faith. You can use Google if you want, but when it comes to faith, I want to look up the Bible description for what faith is. So keep that biblical definition on your notes. And then let's go into what faith is not. I feel like when it comes to faith, though, a lot of us have some type of misconception of what faith is. It could be because of the church we're at, or maybe what we've kind of learned outside of the church of what faith is. So like the first thing I have in my notes, some of us think, like faith is magical. Like Christians are just in this magical world. We think that faith is magical. Whenever we wish something, we just strike it with our magical wand, and God in heaven is like, yep, right there, get it. And that's exactly what faith is not. Faith is not. It says here is the substance of things hoped for. So if you're hoping for something, you can't really see it. The evidence of the realities of things not seen. So faith is not magical. Faith is a process, and I'll explain that in a little bit. And another thing too, for some of us, I wrote down here, faith is not for the weak. Having faith in God, having faith in anything that you're hoping for is not for the weak or people who give up easily. And I'll explain that. And then last thing I have here, faith is not for the name it and claim it. If you've been around the church long enough, I'm pretty sure you've heard this name it and claim it, So just those three things of what faith is not. And just stop and ask yourself, when it comes to faith in God, faith in God or faith in believing in things that you desire, to happen in your life. How's that going right now? And what's hindering you, from having faith in God? What's that roadblock, like I mentioned, just like how this year has been, that's kind of causing you to kind of maybe this is not going to come to pass, those type of things. Obviously, the first answer to that is the devil. If you started something and now you want to quit, or let's say you're believing in God, now you're doubting Him, obviously the enemy is the first answer. The reason why faith takes a process is this: we serve a real God. We serve a real Father, and when you have a relationship with God, He takes you. It's a faith walk. It's a process. So I am a real mother. I have real children. And I do real things with them. I don't just give them what they want when they want it, just like that. I discipline them. I have to keep redirecting them. This is not how it works, Lexi. You gotta wait when you want something. Constantly, as she's a child, my 2-year-old, I have to discipline them. So when you give your life to the Lord, which is a faith move, so kudos if you have. And then now you have faith in Him, whether it's a career that you want to start, whether it's school, that you're like, I'm going to major in this, or you're in school and you're, the degree that you're trying to major in, or whether it's a job that you're like, should I go for it? Whatever it is that it might be, that it's taken faith for you to believe that this will happen. Just know that it's a process. It's a process. and it's not magical. It doesn't happen overnight. I have here in my notes, big faith, big results. And then it's just how God works. So story of Joseph really quick. Joseph at 17 years old, I believe, God gave him a dream that the dream, his brothers and even his father were bowing down to him. And he made a mistake, told his brothers about it. Even his dad was his dad's favorite, didn't really like that dream very well. So anyways, they didn't like him, right? So they decided at first they wanted to kill him. Then they're like, you know what, we're just gonna sell you. And so they sold him into slavery. And you can imagine how hurtful that is. And if you know the whole story, he not only was he a slave, he later on became an inmate, and he did not become that dream that he had until he was 30 years old. So if you do your math, that's like about 13 years. That is a process. And the reason why I say faith is a process is this. And I'll use Joseph as an example. God had big plans for Joseph when he was 17, before he was 17. If you know Jeremiah 33 verse 3, before you were born, I knew you, I ordained you. So before you were born, God already knows you, God already ordained you, God already had big, mighty plans for you. Like you think you have big plans for yourself. God has like gigantic, enormous plans for his children, but it's a process before those things come to pass. So hang in there, like hang in there. Anyway, so he had that dream for him, but at 17 years old, God showed him that dream. Now, if he was smarter, he probably wouldn't have shared it, but he did. And God could have probably, at 17, by 21, done whatever he wanted to do with Joseph, put him in that leadership role right there, within those few years. But it's not how he operates. God, with faith, it takes time. It takes building. It takes learning. At 17, of course, Joseph would have not been able to carry that calling upon his life. He went through a lot of different things to get to where he later was. And also, let me give you an example of faith. Barack Obama, past president. I was watching his, I want to say a documentary on Netflix, and just kind of seeing his backstory. He wasn't raised in like wealth and luxury. Like if you look at his story, it's pretty awesome how he was raised. Of course, he was admitted to Harvard, and he, the poverty lifestyle, and he loved playing basketball. Like what he went through, if you look at his backstory, it kind of makes sense when you saw him as a president how he was, because that you can tell those things molded his beliefs and the things that he put in place as a president. So back to the story of Joseph. Before he became a leader, he went through so many, different things. And I don't think at 17, when he had that dream, God didn't show him that he was going to be sold by his brothers. I don't think Joseph ever pictured himself as someone who ever become an inmate. So when you have faith in God, boy, you go through some things. Like things that you're like, God, you didn't tell me this was going to take this to get here. You didn't tell me, I would lose this, I would lose all my friends when I decided to give my life to you and have faith in you. You didn't tell me all these things. And if you have faith in God, my advice is to keep going. It takes a process. And then the other thing I said, faith is not name it and claim it. So let's say you are, looking for a house or trying to get into school or trying to pass a big major test. God doesn't just, you're like, well, I'm not going to read, I'm just going to pray. It doesn't work like that. I actually tried to do that, I think my high school, for the STAR test, whatever it was called before. I prayed thinking I'd pass, and I didn't study. I was like, God just wants me to worship. I'll just go worship God, and I'm just going to pass this test when I take it. I failed it, whatever subject that was. Faith is not like that. Faith takes action. Like if you're trying to buy a home and your credit is bad, God is not going to you're not just going to get the house with a bad credit. Like God wants you to have good credit. Go fix your credit. Like faith is work. Faith is, like it says here, I have this phone. Let me go back. It says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So there should be evidence in your faith, for what you're hoping for. So if it's like a house, like I said, go fix your credit, save your down payment, do the physical things you are to do. God will get the glory when you do things the right way. I know there are testimonies out there. I don't know, but I feel like people don't always tell the whole truth. Like, did you not have to fix certain things before God really gave that to you? Did you really just get that big old mansion because you just named it and claimed it? I don't know. I ask a lot of questions. So, but anyways, in my life and what I know the Bible says, you have to apply faith. And it does not take away from God if you have to do practical things. It does not. It gives God the glory. Go get your good credit. If you're single and you're believing God for your spouse and all that stuff, like, have faith that the spouse will come, but you don't have to start doing, like, I don't know, crazy stuff. I don't want to say the wrong things, but anyways, faith takes work. Faith takes time, and in that time, God will mature you. So lastly, because this is supposed to be super short, like I said, faith is not name it and claim it, and faith is not for the weak. So let's say this. For people who's like, okay, I give up easily. You don't understand. If I don't see it, I give up easily. I say faith is not for the weak. It's not to cancel you out. It's just to give you a strategy, because you got to be practical. So let's say you get discouraged easily. It's like little things make me just want to give up. For your faith to work, I always say get a vision board. Put pictures of where you're going. Attach scriptures to it. So that way when you feel tempted to quit, you go back to that board. Hi, Lexi. You go back to that board, look at where you're going, and say, you know what, this is where I'm going. I'm going to keep going and read scriptures to get you there. So to sum up this short video, I just want to let you know faith takes time. How's that? Come here, Zach. Faith takes time. Faith is not for the weak, not to count you out. Set a vision board for where you're going. And I hope this blesses you. Yeah, we're good.